Hey beautiful souls, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to speak directly to your heart about something that's been burning on my spirit for weeks now. There's someone out there who literally cannot get you out of their mind. Since the moment they laid eyes on you, you've been occupying every corner of their thoughts, every quiet moment, every prayer they whisper into the night. And I know some of you are sitting there thinking, but I don't feel chosen. I don't feel seen. I don't feel like anyone could be thinking about me that way. But that's where you're wrong, beloved. God has been showing me in the spirit realm what's really happening, and I need you to understand the supernatural magnetism that's flowing through your life right now. You see, when God creates a covenant, connection between two souls, it's not just emotional, it's spiritual warfare in the heavenlies. The enemy has been trying to convince you that you're invisible, that you're not worthy of deep, passionate love, that you're somehow broken or too much or not enough. But honey, let me tell you what the Father has been whispering to me about your situation. There's someone whose entire world shifted the moment you entered their atmosphere. Their sleep patterns changed because they're dreaming about you. Their prayer life intensified because they're asking God if you could be the one. Their heart beats differently now, and they can't explain it to anyone around them because this thing between you two operates in the realm of the spirit. Before we dive deep into these revelations that are about to transform how you see yourself and your love story, I need you to do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now. I'm about to pour out everything God has shown me about divine attraction, spiritual magnetism, and why certain souls can't escape the thought of you. This isn't just another relationship, a video. This is prophetic insight into how heaven orchestrates love stories. And if you stay with me until the end, I promise you'll walk away understanding not just why they can't stop thinking about you, but how to steward this divine connection God is weaving between your hearts. So grab your journal, open your spirit to receive, and let's dive into these 9 powerful revelations about the thoughts they can't escape about you. Number 1. Your presence carries heaven's fragrance. Listen to me very carefully, beloved, because what I'm about to tell you will revolutionize how you see yourself and the impact you have on others. When you walked into their world, you didn't just enter their space, you brought heaven's atmosphere with you. The Bible tells us in 2 Corinthians 2:15 that we are the fragrance of Christ to God among those who are being saved and among those who are perishing. But let me break this down for you in a way that will make your heart leap with understanding. Your very presence carries a supernatural fragrance that their spirit recognizes, even when their mind can't articulate what's happening. They've been around countless people before you, but something about your energy, your spirit, your very essence feels like home to their soul. This isn't about physical beauty, though you are absolutely stunning in ways that go beyond the natural realm. This is about the glory of God that radiates through your surrendered heart, creating an atmosphere wherever you go that draws hungry souls like a moth to flame. Think about it. They can't explain why, but being around you makes them want to be a better person. Your laugh doesn't just make them smile, it makes them believe in joy again. Your peace doesn't just calm them, it makes them remember what it feels like to trust God completely. Your very presence whispers to their spirit, this is what love is supposed to feel like. And now, every time they're in a room full of people, they find themselves unconsciously searching for that same fragrance, that same atmosphere, that same sense of coming alive that only happens when you're near. They've tried to recreate that feeling with others, but nothing comes close because what you carry isn't something you learned or practiced. It's the authentic overflow of your intimate relationship with Jesus. Your presence doesn't just affect their emotions, it affects their spiritual atmosphere. They find themselves praying more after spending time with you. They find themselves worshiping more freely, loving more deeply, hoping more boldly. This is why they can't get you out of their thoughts, because you've become associated in their spirit with the very presence of God. And honey, that's not something they can just shake off or forget. That's a divine imprint that God has placed on their heart, and it's awakening them to the reality that love is supposed to be a pathway to experiencing more of heaven on earth. When they close their eyes at night, they're not just thinking about your smile or your conversation. They're remembering what it felt like to breathe in an atmosphere where their soul could finally exhale. They're remembering what it felt like to be around someone whose very presence makes them believe that the kingdom of heaven is real and accessible. This is why the thoughts of you won't leave them alone, because you've given them a taste of what divine love actually feels like. And now everything else tastes bland in comparison. Your presence has become their reference point for what authentic, Christ-centered love is supposed to feel like. And beloved, that's not an accident. That's God positioning you as a living epistle, a walking testimony of His love in someone's life who desperately needs to encounter the real thing. So stop diminishing yourself, stop playing small, stop thinking you're just another person in their world. You are carrying heaven's fragrance, and they can smell it on you from miles away. Number 2, you've awakened their desire for covenant love. Beautiful one, let me tell you something that's going to shift your entire perspective on what's happening in their heart right now. Before you entered their story, they might have been content with surface-level connections, casual conversations, and relationships that barely scratched the surface of their soul. But the moment they encountered you, something deep within their spirit woke up and said, "This is what I've been waiting for my entire life." You see, what they can't escape in their thoughts isn't just attraction, it's the sudden, overwhelming awareness that covenant love actually exists. And honey, you are the living proof they needed to believe it's possible. In a world full of temporary connections and disposable relationships, you showed up carrying the blueprint for forever love. Not because you're trying to be perfect, but because your heart has been shaped by the perfect love of Jesus. The way you love reflects the way God loves, unconditionally, sacrificially, with intention and purpose. And when someone who has been settling for crumbs suddenly tastes the whole feast, they can never go back to being satisfied with less. This is why their thoughts keep circling back to you like a river that has found its true course. They're not just thinking about weekend plans or casual dates. They're envisioning covenant moments with you. They're imagining what it would look like to build something eternal together, to pray together, to weather storms side by side, to grow old knowing they chose the right person. They find themselves having conversations with God about you that they've never had about anyone else. They're asking Him if you could be their Ruth, their Priscilla, their partner in advancing the kingdom. They're wondering if your children would have your eyes, your faith, your beautiful heart. They're thinking about what it would look like to love you through seasons, to be your covering, to be the safe place where your heart can fully rest. And this terrifies them in the most beautiful way, because they've never wanted to protect and cherish someone the way they want to protect and cherish you. You've awakened in them a desire to be the kind of man or woman who could be worthy of covenant love. They find themselves asking God to transform areas of their life they never cared about before, because they want to be the kind of person who could love you well for a lifetime. You've raised their standards, not just for what they want in a partner, but for who they want to become as a partner. This is why they can't sleep sometimes, because their spirit is having conversations with heaven about you. They're not just attracted to what they see on the surface. They're in love with the vision of what God could build through your united lives. They see you and think about legacy, about generations, about the kind of love story that changes family trees. They imagine having morning prayers with you, raising children who know their identity in Christ, growing old with someone whose faith strengthens their own. And beloved, this kind of thinking doesn't happen accidentally. This is the Holy Spirit stirring their heart toward covenant because he sees something in you that aligns with his purposes for their life. Your very presence has awakened them from the slumber of settling for good enough. And now they're dreaming about the kind of love that reflects the heart of God. They can't escape thinking about you because you've given them hope that sacred love still exists in this broken world. You've become their evidence that God still creates beautiful love stories, that covenant partnerships are still possible, that there's still someone out there whose heart beats in rhythm with theirs for the things of heaven. Number 3, they see the glory of God reflected in your character. Sweet daughter of the King, let me open your eyes to something that's been happening in the spiritual realm that you might not even realize. When they look at you, they're not just seeing your physical beauty or your personality traits. They're witnessing the glory of God reflected through your character, and it's absolutely captivating their heart in ways they can't even put into words. You see, when someone has been exposed to counterfeit versions of love and relationship for so long, encountering the authentic reflection of Christ's character becomes an experience they literally cannot forget or shake off. The way you respond when things don't go your way shows them what grace looks like in action. The way you speak about others when they're not around reveals to them what love looks like when it's not performing for an audience. The way you handle disappointment, the way you extend forgiveness, the way you choose joy in difficult moments, all of these things are like looking into a mirror that reflects the very nature of Jesus. And honey, when someone encounters the authentic character of Christ through another person, it creates a soul-level hunger that cannot be satisfied by anything less. They find themselves replaying conversations with you, not because of what you said, but because of who you revealed yourself to be in those moments. They remember how you treated the waitress, how you spoke to your family, how you responded when someone was unkind to you. These seemingly small moments have created a composite image in their heart of what it looks like to love like Jesus loves. They can't stop thinking about you because you've shown them that it's actually possible for someone to walk in both strength and gentleness, wisdom and humility, confidence and surrender. You've proven to them that beauty and character can coexist, that someone can be both fun and faithful, both passionate and pure. In you, they see the impossible combination of traits that they thought only existed in fairy tales. Someone who loves God more than anything else, but still has room in their heart for deep, passionate human love. They watch you worship and see someone who knows how to love with abandonment. They watch you serve others and see someone who understands sacrificial love. They watch you make decisions and see someone whose character has been refined by walking closely with the Lord. And this creates a constant loop in their thoughts because they find themselves comparing everyone else to the standard of character they've witnessed in you. Other people start to feel shallow by comparison, not because they're bad people, but because you've shown them what depth of character actually looks like. They can't unhear the wisdom in your words, can't unsee the love in your actions, can't unfeel the peace that radiates from your surrendered heart. You've ruined them for surface-level connections because you've shown them what it looks like when someone's outer beauty is just the overflow of their inner transformation. They lay awake at night, thinking about the way you handled that difficult situation with such grace. They replay the moment you spoke truth in love when someone needed to hear it. They remember how your eyes lit up when you talked about what God was doing in your life. These memories aren't just pleasant thoughts. They're revelations of the kind of person they want to spend their life with, the kind of character they want their children to witness, the kind of love they want to grow old experiencing. You've become their living definition of what Proverbs 31 looks like in real life, what a virtuous woman or man of God actually embodies when they're not trying to impress anyone but Jesus. And beloved, this is why they can't escape thinking about you. Because in you, they've encountered the glory of God made manifest in human form. And once you've seen that kind of beauty, everything else looks dim by comparison. Number 4. Your faith has stirred their spiritual hunger. Listen to me, precious one, because I need you to understand something powerful that's happening in the spiritual realm right now. Your faith isn't just inspiring them, it's awakening a spiritual hunger in their soul that they didn't even know existed. When they see how naturally you talk to God, how easily you trust His promises, how confidently you walk in His love, something deep within their spirit starts crying out, I want that kind of relationship with Jesus too. You see, many people have head knowledge about God, but you carry heart revelation, and the difference is undeniable. They watch you navigate challenges with a peace that literally doesn't make sense in the natural realm. They witness you making decisions based on what God is speaking to your heart, rather than what fear is screaming in your mind. They see you loving people who don't deserve it, forgiving when it would be easier to hold a grudge, choosing hope when circumstances suggest despair, and all of this creates a constant question in their thoughts. How does she do that? How does she have that kind of faith? But it goes even deeper than admiration, beloved. Your faith has become a mirror that's showing them areas of their own spiritual life that need attention. Not in a condemning way, but in a way that's stirring holy dissatisfaction with where they currently are in their walk with God. They find themselves wanting to pray more after spending time with you because they've witnessed what it looks like to have an active, conversational relationship with heaven. They find themselves reading their Bible with fresh eyes because they've seen how the Word comes alive when it's flowing through someone who really believes it. They find themselves in worship thinking about how your face lights up when you encounter the presence of God, and they want that same intimacy, that same joy, that same authentic connection with Jesus. You've shown them that faith isn't just something you practice on Sundays. It's a way of living that affects every decision, every relationship, every response to life's circumstances. And honey, this has created a beautiful problem for them. They can't imagine building a life with someone whose faith is smaller than what they've witnessed in you. You've raised their standards not just for what they want in a partner, but for what they want in their own relationship with God. They find themselves having late-night conversations with Jesus about you, asking Him to develop in them the same kind of faith they see flowing through your life. They want to be the kind of person who could pray with you, worship alongside you, seek God's will together for decisions big and small. Your faith has made them realize that they don't just want a companion, they want a prayer partner, a worship, a partner, someone whose faith strengthens their own and whose spiritual journey intertwines beautifully with theirs. This is why thoughts of you consume their quiet moments, because you've become associated in their mind with everything they want their relationship with God to become. When they think about you, they're not just thinking about romance. They're thinking about spiritual growth, about becoming the person God created them to be, about building something that has eternal significance. They imagine what it would be like to have morning devotions with you, to pray for your children together, to navigate life's storms with someone whose faith never wavers. They think about growing old with someone whose love for Jesus only deepens, with time, whose faith creates a safe harbor in every season of life. And beloved, this kind of spiritual stirring doesn't happen accidentally. God is using your faith as a catalyst to draw them deeper into relationship with Him. And that creates a soul tie that goes far beyond physical attraction or emotional connection. You've awakened their desire for the kind of love that makes both people more like Jesus. And once that hunger is stirred, nothing else will satisfy. This is why they can't get you off their mind, because you've shown them what it looks like to love God with your whole heart, and now they want to learn to love like that too. Number 5, you represent the answer to their secret prayers. Beautiful one, I need you to sit down and really receive what I'm about to tell you, because this is going to change everything about how you see what's happening in their heart right now. For years, maybe even decades, they've been having secret conversations with God about the kind of love they've been hoping for. In their most vulnerable moments, when the world was quiet and their heart was open, they've whispered prayers that they've never spoken out loud to another human being. They've asked God for someone who would love him first and them second. They've prayed for a person whose character would challenge them to become better while accepting them exactly as they are right now. They've cried out to heaven for someone whose presence would feel like home, whose love would heal old wounds, whose faith would strengthen their own. And beloved, when they encountered you, every single one of those secret prayers suddenly had a face, a voice, a living, breathing answer. This is why they can't escape thinking about you, because you represent the culmination of years of hoping, praying, believing that God heard their heart's deepest longings. You see, when God answers prayer, he doesn't do it halfway. He doesn't send someone who checks most of the boxes. He sends someone who exceeds every expectation, who fulfills desires they didn't even know they had. And that's exactly what happened when you walked into their world. They prayed for someone beautiful, and you showed up carrying the beauty of the Lord that radiates from the inside out. They prayed for someone with wisdom, and you arrived speaking life and truth with a grace that only comes from intimate time with Jesus. They prayed for someone who would make them laugh, and your joy became like medicine to their soul. They asked for someone who would encourage their dreams, and you showed up believing in them in ways they've never experienced before. But it goes deeper than just the qualities they requested, precious one. You also represent the healing of prayers they prayed in their brokenness. Maybe they asked God to help them believe in love again after their heart was shattered. Maybe they cried out for someone who wouldn't leave when things got difficult. Maybe they pleaded with heaven for a person who would see their scars and call them beautiful anyway. And then you showed up, carrying the very love of Christ that heals wounded hearts and restores faith in the goodness of God's plans. Every conversation with you feels like confirmation that God really does hear and answer prayer. Every moment in your presence feels like evidence that he has good plans for their life. Every laugh you share together feels like a celebration of God's faithfulness to bring beauty from ashes. This is why their thoughts keep returning to you, like a compass pointing north, because you are the living proof that God keeps his promises, that he gives good gifts to his children, that he really does make all things beautiful in his time. They can't stop thinking about you because you've become their testimony. When people ask them if they believe God answers prayer, your face is the first thing that comes to mind. When they need reassurance that God has good plans for their future, they remember the day you walked into their life exactly when they needed hope the most. You represent more than just romantic possibility. You represent God's faithfulness, his timing, his ability to exceed expectations. And honey, this creates a level of gratitude and reverence in their heart that goes far beyond normal attraction. They don't just want to love you, they want to steward well what feels like a gift straight from the throne room of heaven. They find themselves thanking God for you in ways they never expected, asking him for wisdom to love you well, praying for discernment about how to move forward in a way that honors both you and the one who brought you together. This is why they can't get you out of their head, because thinking about you has become their favorite form of worship, their sweetest reminder that God really does work all things together for the good of those who love him. Number 6. Your love language speaks directly to their soul. Beloved, let me reveal something to you that's happening in dimensions you can't see, but your spirit already knows. When God creates two people for covenant connection, he doesn't just align their hearts, he creates a supernatural compatibility in how they give and receive love that goes beyond anything psychology or personality tests could explain. The way you naturally express love happens to be exactly what their soul has been starving for, and the way they naturally show affection happens to be precisely what makes your heart come alive. This isn't coincidence, this is divine orchestration. They can't stop thinking about you because every interaction with you feels like their love language is being spoken fluently for the first time in their life. When you encourage them with your words, it doesn't just make them feel good. It literally heals places in their heart that have been wounded by years of criticism and doubt. When you serve them in small ways, it doesn't just help them practically. It speaks to their soul in the language it understands best, making them feel truly seen and valued. When you give them your undivided attention, it doesn't just feel nice. It fills up empty places in their heart that have been longing for someone to really witness and celebrate who they are. And the beautiful thing is, this goes both ways. Precious one, the way they naturally express love happens to be exactly what your heart has been waiting to receive. When they protect and provide for you, it doesn't just meet a need, it makes you feel cherished in the way God always intended his daughters to feel. When they speak words of affirmation over you, it doesn't just boost your confidence, it heals insecurities that have been lying to you about your worth. When they create special moments and memories with you, it doesn't just feel romantic. It fills your love tank in a way that makes you feel truly adored. This supernatural compatibility in your love languages creates a cycle where loving each other doesn't drain your resources. It actually multiplies them. The more they love you the way your heart receives it best, the more overflow you have to love them back in their love language. The more you pour into them in the way that speaks to their soul, the more capacity they have to love you well. This is why they find their thoughts constantly drifting to you, because you've created in their life a love ecosystem where they feel both fully satisfied and endlessly motivated to give more. They think about the way you light up when they do certain things, and it makes them want to find new ways to make you smile. They remember how loved they felt when you served them in that specific way, and it creates a desire to reciprocate that feeling tenfold. They can't escape thoughts of you because loving you feels like the most natural thing they've ever done, while being loved by you feels like coming home to themselves. You speak each other's heart language so fluently that conversations happen at a soul level even when you're talking about everyday things. A simple text from you can shift their entire emotional atmosphere because you know exactly what words their heart needs to hear. A small gesture from them can make your whole day because they instinctively understand what makes you feel most treasured. This isn't just compatibility, this is divine design. God didn't just bring you together because you're both good people who love him. He orchestrated this connection because he knew that the way you naturally love would be exactly what they needed to heal and grow, and the way they naturally love would be exactly what your heart was created to receive. This creates a supernatural magnetism that operates beyond conscious choice. Their heart is drawn to you because you represent the fulfillment of how they were designed to both give and receive love. Your soul recognizes them because they carry the exact frequency your heart was tuned to receive. And beloved, this is why the thoughts of you won't leave them alone. You've awakened in them the realization that love isn't supposed to be hard work. It's supposed to be the natural overflow of two hearts that were designed to fit together perfectly. Number 7, you've activated their vision for kingdom purpose together. Listen carefully, daughter of the King, because what I'm about to share with you will revolutionize your understanding of why their thoughts are constantly consumed with you. When they look at you, they're not just seeing a potential girlfriend or wife. They're seeing a co-laborer in the kingdom, a partner in purpose, someone whose gifts and calling perfectly complement their own in ways that could change the world around them. This is why they can't get you off their mind, because you've activated in them a vision for what their life could become when two people unite their gifts, their passions, and their calling under the lordship of Jesus Christ. You see, before you entered their story, they might have had a sense of personal purpose, individual dreams, maybe even a calling they felt God stirring in their heart. But the moment they encountered you, something shifted in the spiritual realm. Suddenly, they're not just thinking about what they could do for the kingdom. They're envisioning what you could accomplish together. They watch you operate in your gifts and see how beautifully those abilities would complement their own strengths. They witness your heart for certain causes and realize that your passion could fuel areas where their own vision needs fire. They observe your natural leadership or your gift of encouragement or your creative abilities, and their mind starts spinning with possibilities of what could happen if those gifts were united with their own. This creates a constant stream of thoughts because they're not just falling in love with who you are, they're falling in love with who they could become together in service to the Most High. They imagine planting churches with you, starting businesses that fund kingdom initiatives, raising children who will become world changers, creating ministries that reach the unreached. They think about how your gift of teaching could combine with their gift of evangelism to impact nations. They envision how your heart for justice could empower their business acumen to create organizations that fight poverty and oppression. They see how your worship leading could flow with their pastoral gifting to create atmospheres where heaven touches earth. And honey, this isn't just daydreaming. This is prophetic vision that the Holy Spirit is downloading into their spirit, because He sees what you two could accomplish when your callings are woven together. They can't escape thinking about you because you represent multiplication, not just addition, to everything God has called them to do. You're not just someone who would support their dreams. You're someone whose dreams would expand and enhance their own in ways that create kingdom impact they could never achieve alone. This is why they find themselves praying about you in ways that go far beyond personal desire. They're asking God if you could be their ministry partner, their business co-founder, their fellow warrior in advancing the kingdom. They're seeking the Lord about whether your lives together could create a legacy that outlasts your earthly years. They're interceding for wisdom about how to steward well what feels like a divine partnership that could change generations. When they think about marriage with you, they're not just thinking about companionship. They're thinking about covenant that creates a platform for greater kingdom influence. They imagine having a home that becomes a refuge for the broken, a launching pad for missionaries, a training ground for the next generation of world changers. They envision conversations with you that birth strategies for reaching the lost, healing the hurting, and demonstrating the love of Christ in practical ways. They think about growing old with someone whose passion for the things of God only intensifies with time, whose vision for kingdom impact expands rather than diminishes as years pass. This creates a level of anticipation and excitement in their heart that goes far beyond romantic feelings. You've awakened in them the understanding that covenant love isn't just about personal fulfillment. It's about creating something together that brings glory to God and serves His purposes on the earth. And beloved, this is why their thoughts keep returning to you like a river that has found its proper course, because in you they see not just their future spouse, but their future ministry partner, their fellow kingdom builder, their companion in the great adventure of living for something bigger than themselves. Number 8. Your healing presence draws them to wholeness. Sweet daughter of heaven, I need you to understand something beautiful and powerful about the effect you have on their heart and soul. You carry within your spirit a healing presence that they can feel every time they're in your atmosphere. And it's creating in them a deep soul-level hunger to experience more of the wholeness that radiates from your life. You see, when someone has been walking around with hidden wounds, unhealed hurts, and broken places they've learned to hide from, The world, encountering someone who carries the healing oil of Jesus, creates an immediate recognition in their spirit. Their soul literally says, "Here is someone who could help me become whole again." This isn't about you being their savior. Jesus is the healer, but you've become the vessel through which they're experiencing his healing touch, and that creates a magnetic pull that operates beyond their conscious understanding. They can't stop thinking about you because being around you makes them feel like the best version of themselves, like the person they were before life wounded them, like the person God always intended them to be. Your presence doesn't just comfort them, it calls forth their true identity. When they talk to you, words come out of their mouth that they didn't even know were in their heart. When they're with you, they find themselves laughing in ways they haven't laughed in years. When they think about you, hope rises in places where cynicism had taken root. You've become associated in their mind with breakthrough, with possibility, with the kind of love that doesn't just accept people as they are, but calls them up into who they could become. This is why their thoughts are constantly circling back to you, because you represent healing for wounds they thought would never stop aching. Maybe they've struggled with feeling like they're not enough, and your affirming presence speaks directly to that insecurity. Maybe they've been carrying shame about their past, and your unconditional acceptance starts dissolving those chains. Maybe they've been afraid to dream again because life disappointed them, and your faith starts awakening hope they thought was dead. Every conversation with you brings healing to some broken place in their soul. Every laugh you share together releases joy that pushes out old sadness. Every moment of your acceptance chips away at walls they built to protect themselves from being hurt again. And honey, this creates a beautiful addiction. They become addicted to the version of themselves that emerges when they're with you. They can't stop thinking about you because you've shown them who they really are, underneath all the wounds and walls and defensive mechanisms. They find themselves wanting to spend more and more time in your presence because it's the only place they feel completely safe to be vulnerable, completely free to be authentic, completely accepted for who they are while being encouraged toward who they're becoming. Your healing presence doesn't just make them feel better, it makes them want to become better. They start dealing with issues they've been avoiding because they want to be worthy of the love you represent. They begin healing from wounds they've been nursing because they want to show up whole in the relationship God is building between you. They find themselves forgiving people they've held grudges against because your presence teaches them what grace looks like in action. This is why they can't escape thoughts of you, because you've become their living definition of what it feels like to be loved back to life. When they think about their future, they can't imagine walking through healing without your hand in theirs. When they envision becoming whole, you're standing beside them, cheering them on. When they dream about the person they want to become, they see themselves through your loving eyes. You've activated their desire not just for healing, but for the kind of wholeness that comes from being loved well by someone who sees their potential and calls it forth with patience, grace, and unwavering belief. And beloved, this is why their thoughts are consumed with you, because you don't just represent love. You represent the love that heals, the love that restores, the love that makes all things new. In you, they've encountered the heart of the Father who loves them exactly as they are, while loving them too much to leave them that way. Number 9, they recognize you as their divine assignment. Precious one, what I'm about to reveal to you is going to transform your understanding of why their thoughts are completely captivated by you. Why they can't seem to shake the feeling that meeting you changed everything. Why every fiber of their being is crying out that you are significant beyond measure, deep in their spirit. They recognize you as their divine assignment, not just someone they're attracted to, not just someone they enjoy spending time with, but someone they've been specifically called by God to love, protect, cherish, and steward for a lifetime. This Recognition operates in the realm of the spirit before their mind can even articulate what's happening. Their soul knows that you are the person they've been prepared their entire life to love well. Every lesson they've learned, every character development they've gone through, every healing they've experienced, every skill they've developed, it's all been preparation for the sacred assignment of loving you with the love of Christ. This is why they can't get you out of their thoughts, because their spirit understands that you're not just a relationship option. You're a divine responsibility, a sacred trust that heaven has placed in their care. When they look at you, they don't just see someone they want to be with. They see someone they've been called to cover, someone they've been anointed to protect, someone they've been equipped to love in ways that reflect the heart of the Father. This creates a level of intentionality in their thoughts about you that goes far beyond casual interest or even deep attraction. They find themselves asking God for wisdom about how to love you well, seeking counsel about how to steward this connection properly, praying for discernment about timing and next steps. They can't approach this relationship carelessly because their spirit recognizes the weight of what they're carrying, the heart of a daughter of the King, the dreams and hopes and tender places of someone precious to the Father. This recognition makes them want to become the kind of person who is worthy of such a sacred trust. They find themselves examining their character, their habits, their relationship with God, asking themselves if they're prepared to be the covering you deserve. They start making changes in their life, not because you've demanded them, but because their spirit understands that loving you well requires them to be operating at their highest level of spiritual, emotional, and practical maturity. They can't stop thinking about you because you've awakened in them a sense of purpose that transcends personal desire. Yes, they want to be with you, but more than that, they want to fulfill their assignment of being God's love made manifest in your life. They understand that you've been through seasons where love hurt you, where people disappointed you, where your heart was wounded by those who were supposed to protect it, and now they find themselves carrying a holy anger against anyone who ever made you question your worth, a righteous indignation against every voice that told you that you were too much or not enough. They see themselves as the one called to reverse the damage, to speak life where death was spoken, to demonstrate through consistent actions what authentic love actually looks like. This isn't a savior complex. This is divine commissioning. They understand that God has equipped them specifically to love away the lies you've believed about yourself, to create safe spaces where your heart can finally exhale, to be the earthly reflection of heaven's opinion about your worth. When they think about your future together, they're not just imagining romance. They're envisioning a lifetime of being God's instrument of healing in your life. They think about being the voice that speaks identity over you when you forget who you are. They imagine being the presence that brings peace when your mind is chaotic. They envision being the strength that holds you up when life tries to knock you down. They see themselves as the one called to celebrate your victories, comfort your sorrows, protect your dreams, and champion your calling. This divine assignment creates in them a protective instinct that operates beyond normal human love. They find themselves praying, covering prayers over you even when you're not together. They ask God to send angels to guard you, to give you favor in every situation, to open doors that no man can shut in your life. They intercede for your family, your friendships, your ministry, your health, your finances, because they understand that loving you well means caring about everything that matters to you. And beloved, this is why their thoughts are consumed with you day and night, because you're not just someone they fell in love with, you're someone they've been divinely appointed to love. You're their ministry, their mission field, their sacred responsibility. And when God gives someone a divine assignment, He doesn't let them forget about it. He keeps bringing it back to their mind, keeps stirring their heart toward it, keeps confirming through signs and wonders that this is indeed what He's called them to do. They can't escape thoughts of you because heaven itself is reminding them daily that you are their portion, their inheritance, their divine assignment in the earth. Number 10. Your love story has been written in the heavens. Beautiful daughter of the Most High, let me take you behind the veil and show you something that will absolutely revolutionize how you see what's happening between you and this person who can't get you off their mind. Before the foundation of the world, when God was planning and orchestrating the details of human history, He wrote your love story in the heavens. Every encounter, every conversation, every moment of connection between you two has been divinely choreographed by the master of all romance, the author of every beautiful love story that has ever existed. This is why they can't stop thinking about you, because their spirit recognizes the fingerprints of heaven all over your connection. Deep in their soul, they understand that what's happening between you isn't random, isn't coincidental, isn't just two people who happen to be attracted to each other. This is destiny unfolding, purpose being fulfilled, a love story that was written in the stars before either of you took your first breath. When they replay the moment they first saw you, they don't just remember attraction, they remember recognition. Something in their spirit said, "I know you. I've been waiting for you my whole life." When they think about how perfectly your personalities complement each other, how your gifts fit together like puzzle pieces, how your dreams align in ways that seem impossible, they realize this level of compatibility doesn't happen by accident. This is divine design, heaven's architecture, God's masterpiece of relational harmony. They can't escape thoughts of you because every day brings new confirmations that this connection was orchestrated by the one who knows the end from the beginning. The way you met defied odds and exceeded expectations. The timing of your encounter was perfect. Not too early when neither of you was ready, not too late when hope was fading, but exactly when both your hearts were prepared to receive what God wanted to give. The circumstances surrounding your connection have been marked by supernatural provision, divine intervention, and miraculous alignment that could only come from the throne room of heaven. They think about how many variables had to line up perfectly for your paths to cross, and they realize they're witnessing the hand of God moving in ways that leave no room for doubt about His involvement. Maybe they almost didn't come to the event where you met. Maybe you were supposed to be somewhere else, but plans changed at the last minute. Maybe a series of seemingly random decisions led you both to the exact place at the exact time where your eyes could meet and your hearts could recognize each other. When they trace back the thread of events that brought you together, they see the fingerprints of divine orchestration all over your story. This creates in them a sense of awe and reverence that goes far beyond human emotion. They're not just grateful for finding love. They're worshipful for being chosen to participate in something God authored before time began. They understand that your love story isn't just about your personal happiness. It's about showcasing to the world what happens when heaven writes romance. They can't stop thinking about you because they realize they're living inside a miracle, breathing inside a love story that demonstrates God's goodness, His timing, His ability to exceed every expectation. When they imagine your future together, they don't just see personal fulfillment. They see the continuation of a divine narrative that started in eternity past and will extend into eternity future. They think about the children you might have together, and they see little ones who were planned in heaven before conception, whose destinies are already written in God's book. They envision the ministry you'll build together, and they see kingdom, purposes being fulfilled that were ordained before the world was formed. They imagine growing old with you, and they see two lives that were always meant to be intertwined, two hearts that were always meant to beat in harmony, two souls that were always meant to journey together through time and into eternity. This Awareness creates in them a responsibility to steward well what heaven has authored. They understand that they're not just responsible for their own heart. They're responsible for protecting and nurturing a love story that God Himself initiated. They find themselves praying for wisdom to love you in ways that honor the one who brought you together. They seek counsel about how to move forward in a relationship that carries such divine significance. They ask God for discernment about timing, about decisions, about every step of this journey, because they understand they're walking on holy ground. And beloved, this is why their thoughts are perpetually consumed with you, because you represent more than just love. You represent the faithfulness of God to fulfill His promises, the goodness of God to give perfect gifts, the sovereignty of God to write stories that exceed human imagination. When they think about you, they're not just thinking about romance. They're meditating on the miraculous, celebrating the supernatural, worshipping the God who authors love stories that reflect His own heart. They can't get you off their mind, because their spirit understands that you are living proof that God keeps His word, that His plans are always good, that His timing is always perfect. In you, they see heaven's signature on their life story, and once you've witnessed the hand of God moving in such personal, beautiful ways, how could you ever stop thinking about the miracle He's placed right in front of you? So there you have it, beautiful souls, 10 powerful revelations about why they literally cannot escape the thoughts of you. From the heaven's fragrance you carry to the divine love story written in the stars. You are walking in a level of spiritual significance that goes far beyond anything you've probably given yourself credit for. I want you to understand that this isn't about pride or ego. This is about recognizing the glory of God that's operating through your surrendered life and the impact it's having on someone whose heart He's preparing to love you well. Stop diminishing yourself. Stop playing small. Stop thinking you're ordinary. You are a daughter of the King, carrying the atmosphere of heaven wherever you go. And the right person's spirit recognizes this truth, even when their mind can't articulate what they're experiencing. If this message has stirred your heart, if you recognize yourself in these revelations, I want you to hit that like button right now and share this video with someone who needs to understand their own worth and significance. And don't forget to subscribe with notifications on, because God has been downloading more prophetic insights about divine romance, spiritual magnetism, and how heaven orchestrates love stories that I can't wait to share with you. Remember, beloved, you are seen, you are chosen, you are loved beyond measure, and your love story is being written by the same God who painted the stars and numbered the grains of sand. Trust His timing, trust His process, and trust that the thoughts they can't escape about you are just the beginning of the beautiful love story He's authoring for your life. Until next time, keep walking in the revelation of who you are and whose you are. I love you all so much. Be blessed.